Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review Dead Zone from 2022. Exclusively on Tubi, Tubi. So, I went on and was to watch this hour and 20-minute movie, and it gave me like video game kind of feels. It, first off, like reminds me of Left 4 Dead or Fallout or maybe a little bit of Mass Effect. Because a lot of times we had these characters that are wearing these helmets. I'm like, it looks just like Mass Effect. So, for this film, how did I feel about it? Well, I have to explain that this movie is done fairly cheaply. Um, and like I would say that this movie is interesting, and interesting usually falls between a bad film that you probably shouldn't waste your time on, or like an okay film that I would like justify like some people checking it out. So like interesting is just like take it or leave it. Check it out. Like I could say that this movie is to be on the plus side of things, but just for me, like once I realized like that this movie doesn't have like much of a story, it doesn't blow me away with what little it does. Um, but let me also try and go on and explain what happens in this film because some people may get confused. So, in the beginning part of this movie, we have two characters that are wearing masks on. You can barely tell who anybody really is throughout most of this film, with the exclusion of sometimes they like cut to a person, like with their helmets on, but still, everybody is all wearing the same exact colored costume through most of this film, so you rarely get to know who people are. I wish there was some kind of color coding, rather than every single one of them just wearing the exact same color costume. That's what kind of sucked or irritated about this film. Or if they just went on and just had like a colored strap or like some kind of color thing that stuck out. But anyways, but this movie was done at a very small budget, so we're lucky to have anything. So for this film, we have two people going out in a radiated part of a town, and they realize that there's a bunch of zombies. They have to separate, and one of them dies. And then we stop from that to then give us another set of a team that is to have to go on and find some vaccine and then find that last person and have them kind of join the team, because of course with Michael J. White's team, who he is just to be called boss throughout this movie. I didn't really see any other name for this character. We and Michael J. White, of course, is the character you actually see in the poster here. We have Boss that is to be sent on this mission to get this vaccine, and then he is to start to slowly but surely dwindle down his team members, because of course there is to be this like specialty creature that is to give these guys a run for their money. Because we not only have these characters that look like zombies and there's no definitive word for them, so I'm just calling them zombies, but then we also have this creature that looks like a specialty zombie kind of character. If those of you are to ever played Left 4 Dead, we have this character that has this long, stretched out tongue that goes on and grabs onto people and lures them in or reels them in with its tongue, and then goes on to either strangle or kill or infect whatever and kills them off. So, yeah, like that's a bulk of what is to happen within this one. It just kind of comes to be like, okay, we need to get rid of this creature, this specialty creature character, and we have to figure out how. So, with that said, I think I'm just gonna kind of go on because it's an hour and 20 minutes worth of a film. There's very little to go on and as far as a mass and number of details, but whenever I say that, I usually take way longer than I should to describe the whole movie. So with that said, let's go on into the Double Five Time territory. Interesting film in between kind of a good or in between kind of an okay and a bad movie. So yeah, I would recommend if people like video games, give it a chance. You may like the movie. You may just see it as a movie that you can kind of just play in the background. Like I felt like that's what this movie really was to me. Like, oh, okay, this could be a movie that I'm just gonna play in the background while I'm kind of getting other things done, like playing a mobile game or something like that. So with that said, let's go on into that Double Five Time territory, because about that time, just go on into spoiler time. Spoiler time, it's about that time we're going to spoil this movie. So, we have a woman named Goodman at the beginning of this film, who is to be with another individual that they have masks on the whole entire time. And they're going outside, and come to find out when one character is to take their glove off, we start to see them like being in pain, because we realize that this is to be an irradiated world where if you take off your glove or whatever, you're going to start to of course have that skin die off. So kind of like the movie Finch, like there was this Tom Hanks movie called Finch where when he goes outside into the sun, his skin will start becoming like a vampire, where it'll start to burn off, because the sun, of course, is to be irradiated, I guess. So, definitely check out Finch if you have like Apple TV. Anyways, it's actually a pretty decent film. I liked it. Or if you could ever find an alternate way to say you can see that movie, then. But hey, limited subscription for Apple Plus, because there's some pretty good content on there, anyways. So we have these two individuals that go on to do this car bomb to alert all these zombies, so that way this group can get away from these zombies. And one person ends up getting killed in the process, which leads Goodman by herself. So cue us now going into title screen, and so now we have to show Boss and his team, who are all kind of sitting around together. And so we have one of the guys going on and asking whether or not he should surprise his wife with a trip to Tahiti. And they're all kind of going, no, like, if anything, like, kids like surprises, adults don't. So don't surprise her with that. So all of a sudden, Callahan ends up walking in and is to tell these guys, like, okay, like, I'm going to send you all on this mission. come with me, I'll tell you what it is. So they're like, okay, all right. So they all have to decide at some point to be a part of this mission. They all have a choice. So Callahan is to set up that they are to go on to get this vaccine and then at some point get the heck out of there and so on and so forth. So Boss is to meet up with Ajax, who I guess at some point had a relationship with Boss's like sister or something like that. It's always some goofy thing like that. And to kind of set up that these two characters know one another, even though like there isn't a part of this movie afterwards that proves that or anything. So it's just like dialogue to just give people backstories that isn't going to affect or matter the rest of the film. So Boss is to turn to all of his other men and is to tell them like, well, hey, like you can choose to be on this mission if you like, or like you don't have to. But they all decide to go along with him anyways. So they all end up going onto this plane, and they're all wearing this brand new equipment that they're not even sure is really going to work. Ajax is to say that it's like there's a 40% possibility that he even thinks it's going to work. And so they're consistently talking that like, well, hey, maybe we should go on and get other like masks or other things to protect ourselves just in case this stuff backfires. But it seems to work through most of the film. Plus, also, when you guys get these helmets upon these men, you have a way to have them do dialogue between, so you can actually see who's talking to who, technically. So that was kind of like the smart thing about this movie, because everybody looks the freaking same, as far as like who is what and whatever. But so we have them all parachute down to this city, and so these guys are a little worried about this gear working, and so Ajax says it's like, well, hey, if it doesn't work, then by the time that you guys hit the ground, you guys would already be dead. So if it doesn't work, then you'll find out for sure. So once they all get their gear on and then they land, come to find out the guy who is consistently having problems breathing is a guy by the name of Tun. And I say that simply because this guy is to consistently, he's to like ask one of his other associates, it's like, hey, like, do you have trouble breathing in your gear too? And it's like, no. So at some point they have to go on and have like a specialty mission to adjust Tun's headgear so that way he can breathe better. But for most of this movie, he's going, all right. Like, that's going to be him for most of this film. So, we have Sinclair, who is had like this Fu Manchu kind of goatee here. And so he's going to be like the sniper spotter guy, where he's going to assess like where the zombies are and hope to get away from certain dangers for his men. So these guys are to have this kind of drone fly above them, so they can at some point see if they're in danger. But like the drone doesn't work all that well, so they're like, well, I guess that's effed. Plus, also the drone ends up smacking into this electrical kind of post. So yeah, that basically ruins that drone. So they're also trying to consistently send a message to Callahan, who's like the Master Chief. And at first it works, but then doesn't work much after that. So until like way later on, because Danner is to consistently be calling for Callahan's character, and he's like, "Man, this equipment doesn't work." So by the time that the drone smacks and hits the electrical pole, that is when Goodman is to find these guys because of the explosion and is to try and find them. So she gets to this group, and all of a sudden these guys start to get attacked by these zombies, and so Danner ends up getting bitten in the arm, and so they all rush to try to wrap around Danner's wound and then get him to where the vaccine is. And so they get to where the vaccine is, and everybody can have breathable air in this location, so they're all taking their helmets off. So now they have to try to figure out a way to help Danner here. And some people are saying to chop his arm off, and they're like, well, hey, he's going to bleed out and he's going to die right here. No, that sounds stupid. And Danner's like, hey, just shoot me in the head, just kill me, and like that'll solve our problems. But either way, this guy is probably going to be dead. So Boss is like, no, I'm just going to go on and give him the vaccine and hope that that works. Because I guess they haven't had human trials, but they're going to now. So Boss puts the vaccine into Danner, and somehow it works. So, like, okay, well, like, we're gonna just go on and use this guy's blood to basically be the vaccine now. But it also seems that they had other vaccines that at some point they give to other people. So, like, why not just have, like, a ton of freaking spare vaccines? Just have a ton of them to where it's like you don't have to donate somebody's body to be the vaccine, because that's what they keep saying throughout this whole entire movie. But anyways, so we now have to start to see the dwindling down of characters as we get these guys from getting out of the vaccine location. And so Goodman is to obviously not have like the headset that all these other guys have, so they kind of have to do like hand signals to her to try to guide her of where to go, where that they're gonna have her be. Like, hey, you follow me, da 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 da. So we have our characters, and so Sinclair is to be the first to kick the bucket here, as we, of course, have this specialty creature that goes on and whips its tongue and kills, of course, Sinclair here. I think that's how he dies. And Goodman is to find Sinclair's helmet, and then so she swaps her own like gas mask for this helmet, so now she can go on and talk to all the other guys, and she now has like the headsets like all the other guys, so she's like a part of the team. I was thinking in my brain in the beginning of this, I'm like, why didn't they have like a female character, but then Goodman is the female character? I'm like, oh, okay, all right, so they figured out a way to get a female in here. So the next thing we end up doing is that now we have to do that whole entire mission to get Ton breathable air, as we have this character that is to have to go underground into this kind of tunnel like location to have him be able to breathe air well, so that way we can have Ajax that can adjust his helmet. So they go into this like underground like tunnel, and so the guys are going in two different directions trying to see if there's exits and that they're safe. And so they adjust, of course, Tun's helmet. It works. He can breathe. And so it seems that everybody is kind of okay at this point. So now they have to go on and have Danner try and send a message out that like their mission is done and that they need kind of like a way to get the heck out of here. So Danner is trying to find some location to get this signal out, and finally we have Callahan who ends up responding back to them, and they're like, good, we sent this mission out. Now here is the thing that sucks. So if we had a whole entire mission where Ton was to need to get his helmet for him to breathe now, all of a sudden we realize that now Ton is to get killed off here by him getting whipped by this creature's tongue and killed. So I'm like, man, we spent all that time to like save that guy's life just for him to get killed anyways. So now that they realize that there is this creature here, and we have Boss who finds this like unusual finger, and so they're not really quite sure if Ton is dead, but they're like, well, like his headgear like would be on him and he would talk to us, so he's obviously dead. So we now have these guys who are trying to figure out how to go on and take down this creature. So we at first start to realize that the guys notice that this creature is to be attracted to blood. And so when finally the creature goes on and finds one of these men and kills Danner, and they go on to take off Danner's helmet, and he then dies. Boss is going to go on and use this guy's blood to lure the creature to where they need to go on and kill it. So they're figuring out a way to get this creature close to them. And so in the process, we have like Ajax who's like, well, maybe I'll be the bait for this thing. And so when this creature does come for him and attack him, all of a sudden we realize that this monster does not want to go after Ajax's blood, because Ajax is to have the vaccine in his body. And so Boss is starting to realize, well, wait a minute, like, it seems like this thing doesn't like vaccinated blood, so it just kind of kills the people that have like the vaccine in them. So Boss realizes that he should go on and somehow inject this creature with the vaccine to kill it off. So now by the end of this, only Boss and Goodman are to be the only one left now. So of course you gotta have like the Michael J. White has to like last the end, and then like Goodman is like the female character, so it makes sense. Like she hasn't been in most of this movie; she's kind of just been in the beginning supposedly, and then like towards the kind of back half of this film. So how they play this out is Boss goes on to have the vaccine and is to fight this creature character, having this creature grab his neck with its tongue. And so Boss goes on to inject this thing and then has to slam the needle down with his head to then inject this thing with this vaccine so it kills this creature off. So after the creature is dead, both Boss and Goodman go off to get extracted so they can go back where it is, of course, the safe zone. But all we really see by the end of this is the two characters getting to a safer location to where they can breathe and take their helmets both off and then get to the extraction point. So, with that said, that technically covers most of this movie. But yeah, like it's a very short film. Plus, it's very hard to describe at some points because I'm like, okay, like there's certain like areas and there's certain locations where like I don't think I'm going to be able to easily describe all of this. And plus, there also is just the rush to get the whole like describing part of this movie just kind of done. So not everything was to be perfectly done in the order of which that it all happened in the film, but at some point it does happen. These things do happen in this movie. And so with that said, I'm just going to go on and get out of here and call it a day. Thank you for listening to this. I really do appreciate it. But I'm also going to go and try to maybe squeak out one more review before I just call it a day. So anyways, goodbye everybody. Goodbye everybody.